Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Syarifah Mardhatillah, student ID 2205113223. A student of 3B English student English education program, and I want to read some poem and give an analysis for it. The poem title is "The Raven" by Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, first I'm gonna read the poem. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. This some visitor I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, and certain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, is some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some led visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more. Presently my soul grows stronger, hesitating no longer. Sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping. And so finally you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming, dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave me token. And the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. Then I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what thereat is. And this is mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment and his still mystery explore. This, the one and nothing more. Upon there I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least of sins met he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and the stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy chest be shorn and shaven, though I said art sure nor craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the nightly Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvelled this ungainly vowel to hear discourse so plainly. True, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour, nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore, startled at the stillness, broken by a reply as aptly spoken. Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters, it is its only stock and store, called from some unhappy master from unmerciful disaster. Followed fast and followed faster till his song one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling. Strike I will a cushion seat in front of bird and bust the door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to slinking, fancy into fancy, thinking, what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly gown and ominous bird of yore, meant it croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the foul whose fiery eye now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er. She shall pass, nevermore. Then, methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen cancer, swung by seraphim whose foot veils tinkled and on the stuff floor. Rich, I cried, thee God hath lent thee, by this angel he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from the memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe and forget this lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, think of evil, prophet still, if bird of devil, whether tempted sin or whether tempted those thee, there's here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, things of evil, prophet still, if bird of devil, by that heaven that bends above us, but by that God we but adore. Tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Eden, it shall cast a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasps a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word or sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrink, am starting. Get thee back into the tempest of the night Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie the soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quite the buzz above my door. Take thee break from out my heart, and take thee from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never fleeting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of palace, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of demons that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming through his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Uh, that's all from the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Next, we move to the analysis of this poem. Uh, the first point I want to highlight it is what is the poem The Raven about. The Raven tells the story of a deeply saddened man mourning the loss of his beloved Lenore. On a cold December night, a raven repeatedly taps on his door and then his window. At first, the man thinks it's a visitor, but finds the raven when he opens the window. He starts chatting with the raven, but the bird only says nevermore. Feeling alone and abandoned, the man believes the raven agrees that everything he cares about will also leave him. As they talk more, the man becomes unhinged, desperately asking the raven questions, hoping for a comforting answer about seeing Lenore again. However, the raven's consistent nevermore replies push him further into despair and anger. In the end, the man feels defeated by his grief and madness, declaring that he never finds solace, while the raven remains perched on a statue, an eerie presence throughout the man's emotional unraveling. The second point is the major themes and tone in the raven. From the poem of the raven is a melancholy poem, and most of its themes revolve around grim topics. Uh, there are three mainly themes that you can found in the easily in the poem, and that first is grief. The overwhelming emotion of grief consumes the narrator due to the loss of his beloved Lenore. The raven repetitive response of nevermore intensifies the narrator sorrow, leading him into a state of hopelessness and despair. Edgar Allan Poe, drawing from his own experience of loss, symbolized the raven as a representation of unending remembrance and all-encompassing nature of grief. The second major themes you can find in the poem is devotion. The deep and unwavering love for Lenore drives the narrator's emotions despite her passing. Her idolizes her as a saintly and a perfect person, allowing his devotion to her to overshadow everything in his present life. Edgar Allan Poe highlights the enduring power of love which persists even beyond death. The three major themes you can find in the poem is rationality versus irrationality. Initially rational, the narrator understands the penalty of that Lenore is dead and acknowledges the raven limited responses. However, as the poem progresses, his interaction with the raven leads to increased irrationality. He asks questions beyond reason, interprets the bird nevermore as an absolute truth, and descends into madness, blurring the line between reality and the irrational thought. Edgar Allan Poe uses this to illustrate the fine boundary between rationality and insanity, emphasizing how intense emotion like grief can lead to irrationality, even in mundane interaction. This theme collectively contribute to the dark and melancholic tone of the poem, depicting the narrator emotional unraveling in the face of grief and loss with his beloved Lenore. And the third main point I want to highlight is rhythm and the matter. The Ravens showcases various rhythmic, including iambic and apestic, trocade, dactylic, and spondic meters. Predominantly, it adheres to trocade octameter, consisting of 8 trocade beats in each line, where every foot contains on one stressed syllable, followed by one unstressed syllable. Edgar Allan Poe drew inspiration from Elizabeth Barrett poem, uh, and prominently employs meter alongside other poetic devices, contributing significantly to its widespread popularity as it is frequently recited. Now, the fourth main point that I want to highlight is device repetition. The poem employs various 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 form of repetition as literary devices. The first is rhyme and rhyme scheme. The poem follows the rhyme scheme of A B C B B B, where the B rhymes consistently use an or sound like Lenore, door, and nevermore, functioning as an rhyme. For instance, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door, the some visitor, I mother, tap, tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more. In the first stanza. Now, the first device repetition is assonance. This device repeats vowel sounds without necessarily repeating the following consonant, as seen in the line once upon a midnight dreary, while I ponder weak and weary in the first stanza. And the third is alteration. It involves repeating consonant sounds, usually at the beginning of words, to create an effect. An example is bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door in the stanza 9. Now, onomatopoeia, the next is onomatopoeia. This literally to represent sounds with words such as rapping and tapping in the first stanza, capturing the sound made by animals or people, like this. And now, uh, and next is refrain. It involves repeating one or more lines or significant part of the line at regular intervals, often appearing in the end of stanza, like the repeated word nothing more and nevermore. The sixth one of the device repetition is the parallelism. The device repeats grammatical elements in writing or speech, influencing both the structure of sentence and the conveyed meaning of the thought or ideas presented. Now, the five main point that I want to highlight is the figure of speech. The poem is extensively employs the figure of speech known as personification, attributing human-like qualities such as speech and emotion to animals or objects. We can see it a lot when the poet or someone in that Edgar Allan Poe poem keep talking to the raven as if the raven can speak like a normal like a person. And not only that, there are simile comparing these similar things as seen in on the marrow he will leave me as my hope have flown before in the stanza 10, while metaphor in direct comparison without using like or as, uh, like like the stanza 13, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burn into my bosom scorch. And the next is apostrophe, lines that address something absent, unresponsive, or non-human. In stanza 14, he calls the prophet. No allusion, reference to historical, literary, or mythical entities such as Night Plutonian shore in stanza 8 and stanza 17. Now hyperbole, that's a deliberate exaggeration for emphasis, like this grim, ungainly, ghastly gown and ominous bird of yore in stanza 12. Now oxymoron is combining contradictory ideas as in and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor in stanza 18. Now, synecdoche, using a part to represent the whole or vice versa, like as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door in stanza 1. Now, metonymy, using a closely associated name or for something else, seen in this grim, ungainly, ghastly gown and ominous bird of yore in stanza 12. While symbolism, using an idea or object to represent something deeper, such as once upon a midnight dreary, while I ponder weak and weary in stanza first. Well, that's all from my analysis of the Raven poem by Edgar Allan Poe. I hope you find that interesting and educationally. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.